Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the first VMware by Broadcom webinar brought to you by VMware Tongzu. Today's topic is Kubeapps, an open source application dashboard for Kubernetes from VMware. And before we bring in today's speaker and we begin today's presentation, just want to go over some housekeeping items. We'd love to keep this as interactive as possible, so if you have any questions for us, please submit them using the Ask Questions tab below, and we'll do our best to answer all of your questions live today. In addition, we'd love to hear from you. So let us know how we did, how we're doing, or what you'd like to hear future events by leaving us feedback also below the presentation screen. Now, without further ado, I do want to introduce our speaker calling all the way from Spain. We have Pepe Baena. Pepe, I'll bring you in right now. There you go. And
Hello,
Pepe is
everyone.
joining us today it's evening time for him. So we just want to say thank you, Pepe, for joining us, and I'll hand this off to you now. So have a great presentation, all.
Thank you, Ajay. Okay, this is Pepe Baena. I'm super excited for this webinar to participate today with you in this webinar. Let me share some words about me before starting. I'm based in Sevilla, in the south of Spain. I'm engineering manager at Kubeapps. And some words about my hobbies. I love family time with my two kids. I also love practicing sports, especially rowing and running. And here also in the presentation, you have some links to my social profiles in the social networks. So let's start. Today in the agenda, we'll start with an overview to give all the context about Kubeapps. So it's a brief presentation. And then we will go to a live demo to showcase how Kubeapps and Tanzu application catalog works together. At the end of this time, we have some slot for questions. So I hope if you have any, you can post in the chat so Ajay can share later with us. So let's start. I'm starting from the very beginning. I want to set the problem statement and the reasoning behind Kubeapps. If you remember some years ago with a couple of components like PHP, MySQL, or Apache, a developer have had everything they need for their applications. But now this ecosystem has grown, is huge, and getting more and more complex with plenty of databases solutions, cache systems, with monitoring, with tools and open source software for observability. So at some point in 2006, the awesome Bitnami team started to provide solutions to simplify working with open source software. So from the initial installers to populate the awesome Bitnami application catalog in the different marketplaces, in Docker Hub, and at some point in 2017, when they were dealing with the management of applications in Kubernetes, the first Kubeapps commit took place. After that, and we will talk later about it, the VMware Tanzu application catalog, the enterprise version of Bitnami application catalog, was live, and we can see later in the demo how it is possible to work together with Kubeapps. So after this brief introduction, I want to share these figures because are awesome. More than 140 applications and components with thousands of releases per month, millions of installations, and billions of compute hours every year. So this gives us a unique perspective about the open source ecosystem. And after that, let me focus on Kubeapps. This is an open source project to aiming to simplify the deployment and management of applications in Kubernetes clusters. Okay, as you can read in the slide, Kubeapps is not a software as a service project, it's an in cluster. So you have to deploy Kubeapps into your cluster to work with it. Let me share the general use cases that we can handle with Kubeapps. I like to say that Kubeapps allow users to deploy and to manage any package on any cluster. Let me go deeper and explain. Open source software applications are packaged in different formats, from Helm charts to Kernel packages, and Kubeapps allows to manage and to deploy these different packaging formats into your clusters, from public repositories like Docker Hub, or from private repositories like Harbor, Azure Container Registry, Google, Nexus, whatever private registry. You can deploy on any cluster, what means you can deploy applications on single clusters, on a multi-cluster configuration, or even in an air-gap environment. Well, in this case, as you can see, you need some window with internet connectivity to sync applications from the repository. And this, you can deploy any package on any cluster with different scopes. So you can deploy applications that are namespace scoped. That means that you have this application only available at this namespace, or you can scope them globally across the different namespaces. So this is the main use cases for Kubeapps, to deploy any package on any cluster. If we move forward and share a little from the technical point of view, I want to share from top to bottom the different layers in Kubeapps. Kubeapps uses OAuth2 proxy to implement the OIDC authentication. It is possible to configure by using Pinniped proxy. Pinniped is another open source project, so you can simplify the configuration for IDC authentication. We have the dashboard, that it is a key element to simplify the user experience and to use a user interface to deploy applications in Kubernetes. And Kubeapps also provides an API, a complete API, to manage the different packaging types. And we'll go further, of course, with a cache system and CRD controllers. Let me dive deeper into the Kubeapps API, because Kubeapps at the very beginning provides a really coupled UI, what we call the UI first. But now, in addition of this user interface, Kubeapps is API first, provides a complete API that it is allows you to easily implement the different with the core API that implements the core operations, the plugin discovery, allows you to manage the different application repositories, and in the future is the place to implement the new features. And also, in addition, it has a per plugin APIs where we can implement the specific capabilities of each packaging system. Kubeapps API, it's a polyglot API supporting gRPC, gRPC web, that it is what we consume from the dashboard, and REST protocol. It's also using the OpenAPI specification. And it is an API that it is extensible via plugins. If we want to support a new packaging system, I don't know, for example, the Acorn or any other, or like we did when we supported Carvel, it is as simple as writing a new plugin that implements the core interface for the core operations and also implements the specific capabilities of this packaging format. To give you an example, The Helm plugin implements the rollback that is a specific operation from Helm. Carvel does not support this operation, so it is specific per plugin. But all of them implements the same core operations to deploy, to list packages, to view all the summary of the package, all the information. So these are the core operations shared in the by all the packaging system. And finally, in this overview, I want to highlight our open source community. I want to thank our contributors. I want to thank our adopters for the huge value that they provide and the feedback they provide to make Kubeapps better and better each day. So there are some figures about Kubeapps with an increasing growth in the usage, the stars, the commits, and all the pull requests even. So thank you very much to the amazing open source community we have behind. And this is what I have for the overview. Let me move and see all of this live. I have selected a use case working Kubeapps with Tanzu application catalog. So I've been talking about Kubeapps for a while. So let me introduce Tanzu application catalog so you have more information about it. As I mentioned before at the beginning, it is the enterprise edition of Bitnami application catalog. Uh, Tanzu Application Catalog is a cloud service that enables customers to build a private catalog of different open source applications that are customized and continuously maintained, verified, and ready to be used in production environments. Okay, so making the difference, Bitnami Application Catalog provides you different open source applications and components so you can test in your labs, in your local, but VMware Application Catalog, and I will show a little bit more, gives you verify, customized and verifiable tested applications ready to be used in production. How do we do that? Well, we have our customers in the VMware Tanzu application catalog. They can select different components, Redis, Apache, or I don't know, Grafana. We have more than 100 open source software solutions that they can customize. They can select if they want the container, the Helm chart, or the different formats, the operating system, if they want to build that on top of Debian, Debian 12, for example, Photon OS or Ubuntu, any operating system, or even they can provide their golden image, their home-based image with their different agents or customizations. And as we are tracking the different open source software upstream components, every time that we have an upgrade, a new version that fix, for example, some CVEs, we start the procedure, an automatic pipeline that builds, verify, and test the application with the specific customized configuration on different Kubernetes platforms and add different reports to that image also, like the source bill of material, the SBOM, the vulnerability exploitability report, the PEX, scan results, the test results, and a huge amount of metadata associated to the image or the chart that has been built. And all of this information is pushed to the private repository of our customers. So they have there the application with all the metadata ready to be deployed into their the platform they decide on premise, in an air gap environment, in Azure, Google, or whatever they decide. And here, for this process, we are going to use Kubeapps to deploy the applications that we have pushed into a registry in a Kubernetes cluster. So here we go. Let me share my screen. And let me, okay. Let me share my screen. Well, this is the initial, the login user interface of Kubeapps. You can configure it with OIDC, as I said previously, but I wanted to show an easy installation that you can check. Let me, sorry, let me share this screen. In GitHub, you can see how easy it is to start with Kubeapps and install Kubeapps. You just have to create your namespace and helm install Kubeapps into this namespace, and you can configure the Bitnami application catalog as a repository. So it is quite straightforward to have Kubeapps installed. I have not done during the demo because, well, it takes some time as you have to deploy into Kubernetes. But then you have this configuration. For demo purposes or for local development, you can have you can log using a token, but as I mentioned, you can configure it to OIDC authentication, and it's easy. We have an how-to guide in the GitHub repo, so you can follow straightforward to configure it. And here, Kubeapps, let me share an overview of Kubeapps application. We have the catalog tab where you have the catalog and the package repository we have configured, initially Bitnami, as you can see, as you saw before in the GitHub for the installation we have done. We have here the applications that we have installed in our cluster. It's a bit tricky. I will show you later. There's nothing installed in the cluster. Here you can also switch. I have a single cluster configuration, but if we have a multi-cluster configuration, you can switch from one cluster to another, or in this case, from one namespace to another. And finally, here we have the different administration options. In this case, to install a new package repository or to log out also. We can also use the dark or light view. And here, let me show something. As I said, it is a bit tricky because if you show applications in all namespaces, we see Kubeapps. Of course, I said before that Kubeapps is an in-cluster application. So Kubeapps is already installed in this cluster, but it is not in the default namespace. But if I switch to the Kubeapps and change context, we see it here. So it is, as I mentioned, a bit tricky, but wanted to share. I'm going to use the default context so we can go deeper on that. Okay, so what are we going to do? We have here the catalog. We have now the Bitnami application catalog, but as I mentioned before, I'm going to show you something. I have to share this screen. I have in this Tanzu application catalog, I have 4 hours ago, I have selected Apache in Debian 12 and I have pushed it to a hardware registry. So let me share this in the hardware registry. So you can see in this Kubeapps project, I have this Apache also together with different, with the index, with different packages that are together, not only the chart, but also the containers associated. So I'm going to configure this new package repository. I'm going to use this Tanzu application catalog. I think I have it somewhere, the URL. The description. It's a Helm chart. You can see that here we could have installed other plugins. In this case, I only have installed the plugin for Helm chart, but we could have deployed together with Kubeapps in the configuration, in the custom values. We could add plugins for Helm chart, but using flags or for Kernel packages. In this case, as I mentioned, we could configure it namespace using only the default or global. Okay, I'm going to configure it namespace, and it is an OCI registry. We have the authentication that we have different mechanisms to provide the authentication and authorization. I'm going to use this basic authentication. Okay. And here we have different options for filtering some of the repositories or for exclude some packages, or even to increase the synchronization interval or to perform some validations. I'm going to install as it is. So as you can see, we have globally available the Bitnami application catalog, and we have namespace available the Tanzu application catalog. So what are we going to do now? Well, we're going to browse this catalog, okay? And I'm going to deploy an application and show the different capabilities of Kubeapps deploying and upgrading applications into your Kubernetes cluster by using this awesome user interface. So let me see, uh, not yet synchronized, but well, I'm going to use this, though it is a Bitnami one, I'm going to use this package to avoid waiting for more time. So if we browse an application, an open source application like Apache, we can see all the metadata, the application version, the packaging, the category, the home and the maintainer, in this case as it's the Bitnami, and all the README file we have here with a lot of parameters to configure. We have different packaging versions here. And let me deploy not the latest one, but the previous one. I'm going to deploy it. And let's see, Kubeapps provides a simple editor to manage the different parameters that sometimes are really confusing in the YAML or really huge. So easily we can, for example, increase the number of replicas to deploy. I'm going to give a name, Apache webinar. But we also have available the YAML editor, and we can even see the changes we have performed using the visual editor. So we can also modify any parameter in the YAML, but it is easy to use the visual editor. So let me deploy this application. It's going to take some time to deploy it, but it's going to during this time, I'm going to show you the user interface. So you have some information that it is a Helm chart that we have called Apache webinar, and it informs about the version, and there is a notification that there is a new package version. If you remember, I have used 10.2.2 instead of the latest one. So we have this information, and later I will show you here in the application view that we have all this information. Okay, it's ready, it's installed. Well, as I have no load balancer installed, uh, it's not going to be associated to any IP, but it's enough for demo purposes as I can show all the information. We can see the deployments, desired 2, up to date 2, available 2, the installation values. So we have here all the values that we have used for the installation. And here also we have information about the services, okay? As I mentioned, I have a local cluster, so it's not configured with external IP. So let me show you now. If we go to applications, we can see that we have this Apache installed. We have, if we compare with the Kubeapps one, we have this information that we have a new package version available. So if we go to this package version, we can do different actions. That is what I explained before. We have different features or core operations like upgrade or delete, that it's these options or operations are available for the different plugins or the different packaging formats for Carvel, for Helm using Flags, or directly using Helm. But for example, in this case, the rollback option is only available for this plugin to manage Helm charts, but not for Carvel, for example. What I'm going to do is to upgrade it. I'm going to select the latest version, and I'm going to change, for example, and reduce the number of replica. So I'm going to easily deploy release package version 10.2.3 with just one pod. If we go to the applications, we have this Apache installed. We have the catalog, we can browse. As you can see, it is a huge catalog of applications, so we can see the huge amount of applications available in the Tansu and Bitnami application catalog with all these solutions. Well, let me share with hundreds of applications. And we can even see, for example, for machine learning, we have different solutions like DeepSpeed, Jupyter Hub, MLflow, PyTorch, or TensorFlow ResNet. We have applications for almost everything, for application server, Tonka and Wellfly, databases. We also manage different, um, provide different open source solutions. So this is the main view of the catalog. So let me share another last thing before going to the questions. Here in our, yeah, I think I'm sharing. Here in the GitHub project, you have information about Kubeapps. You have documentation with getting start guides, with, let me show, with different tutorials, how-to guides, and you have also, let me go back, information to contribute to Kubeapps. So there are different ways to contribute. To get started, you have different and plenty of information here. And also in, let me share kubeapps.dev. You have also a lot of documents and information, so you can join to our contributors, our community, and start using Kubeapps to deploy your applications into your clusters right after this webinar. And I'm going back to the slides. So I don't know if you have any questions. I didn't want to spend more than 30 minutes with the presentation and the demo, so we have enough time to do some questions.
Great, Pepe. I think we did have a few questions here. Let me just get them here for us so we can ask
Sure.
them to you. So first, I do want to just say thank you, Pepe, for joining us. I know it's probably dinner time where you're at, so we do appreciate the time that you're
Yeah,
spending with us right now.
it's an honor. It's fantastic to be here together with all of you. It's
Excellent. We're happy to have you. Okay, a few questions here. The first question is, how is Kubeapps different from Tanzu Mission Control?
okay. Well, it's different purposes. Tanzu Mission Control, it's a solution to simplify the management of Kubernetes clusters. So it is focused on the management of the Kubernetes cluster to set policies to different stuff related to the Kubernetes cluster. And Kubeapps is focused on managing applications or deploying applications in the clusters. We do not have, as you saw in the demo, we do not have any management of the cluster. Just switch to move and to decide which cluster you are or you want to deploy the applications. But we do not create nothing related to the cluster. We just deploy applications into the cluster. So different purposes. Tanzu Mission Control focus on management of Kubernetes. Kubeapps focus on management of applications in Kubernetes.
Thanks, Pepe. We have another question here. Is there a paid version or enterprise version of Kubeapps?
Enterprise version. Well, the answer is no. Kubeapps has no enterprise version, but we provide, together with Tanzu Application Catalog, enterprise support to use Kubeapps together with Tanzu Application Catalog. So there is not an enterprise version of Kubeapps, but enterprise support together with a Tanzu Application Catalog subscription.
Great. Thank you, Pepe. It looks like those are all the questions that we had here today, but I do want to just point out that we do have some attachments and links that you folks are able to click and download and view. I think we included the overview page for VMware Tanzu Application Catalog, the overview for Kubeapps, your application dashboard for Kubernetes, as well as the latest blog from Bala, who helped prepare this event for us, organize this event, and that's the blog for VMware Application Catalog. That comes with enterprise support for Kubeapps. Those links are available in the attachment section, so please feel free to click on them now. If you don't have a chance to click on them or are viewing this at a later date, you will see an email with an on-demand link, as well as links for these assets as well. So we do see a few folks that have left some feedback as well. If you have not left us feedback, hit the Rate This tab below the presentation screen, and we do take all of your comments to heart as we plan out our webinar schedule going forward. It doesn't look like we have any more questions. Pepe, do you have any closing remarks before we bid farewell to everyone on the call?
No, just encourage our audience to check Kubeapps in GitHub, also in our website, and explore and to try and deploy Kubeapps into their cluster. You can. It is as simple as spin up a kind cluster, and with a few commands, you install Kubeapps and you can start working with it for labs, and then you can go deeper and deeper with the tutorials and how-tos to make it production ready, more enforced with security, with OIDC, with airbag, with different configurations, so you can start simplifying the management and deployment of applications in Kubernetes. So, and also to contribute to Kubeapps in our open source project.
Excellent. Thank you, Pepe. I do want to just give another special thank you to Pepe, to Bala, but most of all, thanks to all of you guys for joining us today, whether you're viewing this live or on demand. We do appreciate you guys joining us and viewing this content. If you have any questions for us, please submit them using the Ask Questions tab. Please leave us feedback. This will be open through the duration of video being live, as well as viewing the on-demand recording shortly after the end of this presentation. So we do want to just say thank you again. Happy holidays, all, and we hope to see you guys at our next event. Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.